Okay, guys, the time has come where I am going to put the 6-speed gearbox into this engine. It'll be this one here, which is the gearbox from a ZZR 1100D. Obviously, as you can see, it's 6-speed gearbox. And here's it sitting compared to the gearbox that the original gearbox from the engine, which is a 5-speed gearbox. This is a ZRX 1200 gearbox, and one of the things that you've got to do to fit a ZZR 1100D gearbox is that this output shaft here has this spacer on. The original spacer for the ZZR one is slightly longer. It would maybe come to about there, slightly longer, and that means that you know, you can't put the ZRX front drive sprocket on there because there isn't enough room on the splines to do that. So what you've got to do is you've got to take the old collar off, spacer, and they're a nightmare to get off, and pull it off and replace it with this shorter ZRX 1, and that gives you enough room here then for correct ZRX front drive sprocket. As I say, this is a ZZR 1100D gearbox. You can there are a number of other gearboxes that you could, 6-speed gearboxes that you could use for ZRX. If you wanted to use a different one from this, I mean, you could use the ZZR 1200 one. Same situation applies. You would have to change this spacer on the output shaft, just exactly like this. Put the ZRX one on. You could use a ZZR 1100C, but it is the actual length of the output shaft is shorter in this section. You wouldn't have to change the spacer, but you'd have to use a different dished front sprocket that kind of, you know, curves out. It's more like a sort of like an upturned saucer or an upturned sort of bowl that you know, it puts the position of where the teeth on the sprocket is more out this way. You could use that. You could also use a ZX10B, one of the early ZX10s. Again, it's the same situation, shorter here, and you'd have to use that ZZR 1100C drive sprocket on there. Or if you could get your hands on it, you could use a GPZ 1100 6-speed gearbox, and it doesn't need anything changed. I mean, it has this shorter sprocket, or sorry, spacer on the output shaft, just the same as the ZRX one, and it just drops straight in. You don't have to make any changes. The only thing is, that's an older bike. I think that bike is oh goodness, mid-90s, maybe 95 or 96 or something. I think they were last made about 1997, and So it's an older bike, and it'll have, you know, a few miles on it, and probably have a lot of use. You know, I mean, those bikes weren't really bought to be ridden slow. So chances of getting one were the big thing with these gearboxes is the engagement dogs here have got to be in, you know, good condition to make it worth your while putting them in. So the chances of you getting your hands on an old gearbox from a GPZ 1100 from the 90s, and the dogs haven't been a bit, you know, mullered, would be a bit of a tall order, but might be possible, you know, if someone bought one. But then, you know, why would they buy it and keep it in great nick and then have the engine split and you end up with a gearbox? So, but anyway, look, I done a previous video on the various gearboxes that are available. And another thing is, people ask is, well, what's the advantage of putting one in? I mean, is it like, you know, I mean, it's got 6 gears. Does that mean to say it's got an overdrive gear? It's faster. It's got, you know, no, it doesn't mean anything like that. First gear and sixth gear on the ZZR ones, or the ZRX 10 ones, or any of the other 6-speed gearboxes. The first gear and sixth gear is the same as first gear and fifth gear on the ZRX. So why would you bother putting one in then? Well, it's because the standard ZRX gearbox, 5-speed gearbox, very, very clunky. Anybody that has these bikes know how clunky the gearbox is. And I mean, anytime, just try and engage first gear from neutral, and you'll feel the bike lurching forward and with a heck of a clunk whenever you engage that gear. And the gears aren't, you know, it's not very smooth shift on the 5-speed gearbox. So anytime that anybody, you know what I mean, does a full engine build, or, you know, cases apart, it's a desirable upgrade to fit a you know, a 6-speed gearbox in. If you can get your hands on a good one, stick it in, and it's, you know, makes for a slicker change in gearbox. So but anyway, you've got this these outer races here. That one goes on there, and this one, sorry, this one here goes on there. You'll see there's a wee recess in that, and the same on that one, and that's the position where these wee set pins locate into. You know, they go into the engine case. I'll show you that in a wee second. And also these set guides here, they have to go into the engine case as well. They locate, you know, into this groove on the wheel bearing. And you'll notice also, I mean, there's a wee thing there you need to be careful of whenever you change the spacer on the output shaft of this here, is that you put the bearing on the right way. You'll see here on this one, the groove on the bearing is to the inside, whereas on the input shaft, the groove on the bearing is to the outside. Like, if you got that wrong, it would be a bit of a disaster, because to get those, well, for a start, to get the spacer off in the first place is you know, it's a heck of a job, you know, to pull it off, to get it off, because they're as tight as anything. Whenever you get them off, usually you want to, you know, have a wee check at the bearing, and if the bearing's not any way suspect, you just want to replace the bearing. But if you put that bearing, if you just sort of looked at this one and never didn't pay attention, and you put the bearing on that the groove was to the outside, and then you press this on, I mean, you have to really, to get it on successfully, you got to put this spacer in the oven, and heat it up a wee bit and then press it on. I pressed mine on with a 20-ton press. And but if you done all that there and then you discovered, oh, here, that bearing that bearing should have been rotated the other way round, that you know, I mean, if you had the groove out there and you realized that, oh, well, you know how your day would go then after that, because you'd have to get all this removed again to do it, and that would not be a good day for you. So you just gotta take extra care in that. But anyway, I have this gearbox all cleaned up, have it oiled, and you know, I mean, and it looks in pretty good condition and suitable for the bike. So I'll just put these set guides in first. This one will go in there. I'm sort of holding the camera with one hand. Yeah, that's it. It goes in there, and then the other one goes in there. Like as I was saying, you know, that one there, you can see this to the inside and that one's to the outside, so you just need to pay attention for that. The wee pins, they go in here. That one, and then that one. Right, so I'll just put the actual gearbox in itself. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay. So I'll just set these gear clusters in. So say that wee part there has to locate over that pin. So we'll just put her in, and that goes over that. Rotate that eye. That's it, clicked in perfectly. And then this one. Just goes in here. Just rotate that round. That's it. That's it. Just make sure that we things in there. Yeah, that's it. Nothing to it. Just set it in there, and you know, the only thing is now I'm not able to rotate the engine anymore like I usually do, because that there would just drop out. The next stage after that is to put the bottom case on. I'll show you it here. Okay, so here's the bottom case now. Obviously, I've got to clean it all up here. Haven't been doing any work on this at all. Got to clean up the make sure all the bearings are cleaned. This is the balancer here. Now, I might check the little push drives in it to make sure that they're okay, and or replace them. But that means taking it out and taking the this here out and taking the sealing all out of it, or I might not, you know. I mean, there's not very many miles in this bike. There's only 23,000 miles on it. It's just I wanted to do this upgrade, but anyway, I'll flick it over and show you what the situation is. Okay, so this will be the way the bottom engine casing goes on. Now you can obviously put the shift drum and the forks and everything in here into this case, you know, before you put it on, and then engage everything and do it that way. But I'm not going to do that because it's easier just to, you know, put the case on and then put these in afterwards, because when you're actually putting this case on, there's a little mark here. Well, there's two actually. Not this one, but this one here. See this one? See this wee punch mark here? It has to line up perfectly in the center of this oil hole here. You know, and there's see the gear in there? That gearing there engages in your crank, and you know, so whenever, you know what I mean, the crank needs to be positioned to top dead center of pistons 1 and 4 whenever you engage that. So you know what I mean, you'd be trying to get your case on and you'd be making sure that that didn't move. That would be sort of aligned there perfectly, because that's the balancer shaft there. And at the same time, you'd be messing about here with forks and engaging them in the drums and engaging the forks and the gears and all of that business. So it's a bit of a handful to contend with. So you better just putting the case on, making sure that this is right, and then getting it on, and then putting all your gubbins in here afterwards. But that's for another day. In the meantime, it was just to show you the differences in the gearbox and the 6-speed versus the 5-speed. Everything's in, and I'll maybe just give it another wee squirt of oil. Plenty of oil around it, like, but you can never have enough. And that's it to the next time, guys. Okay, thanks a million for tuning in. All the best.